Welcome to the deep dive, and today we are diving straight into the Red Bull driver situation. Lately it feels less like a development pipeline and more like a high-speed revolving door, doesn't it?
It really does.
We're talking about maybe the biggest personnel headache in Formula One right now. That 2026 driver lineup, specifically, who gets that second seat?
Yeah, it's the ultimate F1 conflict, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the decision, it's been delayed. It was meant to be sorted right after Mexico.
That's right.
The fact they've pushed it back, well, it just tells you how much they're wrestling with this. It's a real tension. They want stability. They need it. But then there's this temptation. They've got what they're calling their highest caliber junior driver for a while.
That really is the heart of it, isn't it? Stability versus this, high-risk potential. I mean, for a team like Red Bull, they've had so much change in that seat recently. Perez out, Ricciardo out, Lawson moved around, Tsunoda hanging on.
It's unusual for a top team.
Yeah. And they've even said they need a known quantity, right? This something solid for the huge technical shift coming in 26.
Precisely. Look, they're facing this massive upheaval new concept, the Red Bull Ford Power Unit switch. It's huge. And in that kind of environment, you either want the absolute safest pair of hands you can get, or you gamble on a superstar talent, someone who can just adapt instantly to something radically new.
And right now, they've got options.
Oh, they do. 4 current F1 drivers, plus Argid Lindblad from F2, all under contract. So from the outside looking in, there's no real pressure to rush it. They hold all the cards.
But internally, they are kind of rushing it now, setting this new deadline before Abu Dhabi. So after delaying it, why the sudden hurry?
Well, they absolutely cannot afford a repeat of last year. That drama dragged on almost until Christmas.
Right, I remember that.
It was a massive distraction, wasn't it? Constant speculation, uncertainty. It hit morale hard. They know this decision hanging over them could be a real problem, especially thinking about Verstappen's 25 title hopes and, the constructors' battles right now.
And that delay last year, it wasn't just bad strategy. It felt a bit clumsy, lacked a bit of grace, maybe.
It absolutely did. And there's a human side to this that Red Bull seems to be acknowledging now. They realized, I think, that how they handled moving on from drivers like Ricciardo and Perez last year, well, it meant those guys didn't really get a proper goodbye from the team or the fans. So they're actively trying to fix that, committing to this pre-Abu Dhabi announcement. It shows a bit more respect, perhaps, to whoever has to step aside.
Okay, I get the professionalism angle, but it's still a knife-edge decision whenever they make it. I mean, if you announce it too early, doesn't that risk destabilizing the drivers who are leaving? Can you honestly expect Yuki Tsunoda to be fully switched on, pushing flat out, if he knows for certain he's out of that seat? He might push too hard, make mistakes, or just, lose that last bit of motivation.
That's the tightrope, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's exactly the tightrope Red Bull is walking. They're basically betting that being clear and professional outweighs the risk of a performance drop. And look, the reason they delayed the call in the first place is because Yuki Tsunoda is making it genuinely difficult for them.
Yuki has definitely given them something to chew on. Lormekis, the team principal, he confirmed it publicly. Said Tsunoda is making steps forward, and that progress, that measurable progress, is why they hit pause on the decision.
Yeah, the view from management seems to be, okay, the trend is positive, even if the final result isn't always quite there. Mekis admitted, the U.S. Grand Prix performance was still not good enough, but then Mexico right after, that was important for Yuki.
Yeah, if you just isolate that weekend, it was actually one of his strongest in terms of raw pace compared to Max Verstappen. Qualifying, what was it, just a couple of tenths slower? Okay, he got knocked out in Q2, and it was a weak weekend for Red Bull overall, but the pace was there.
It was.
And then the race. He was basically robbed of points, wasn't he? Bad luck, operational issues, a compromise strategy, then that agonizingly long pit stop, 12 seconds.
Ouch. Yeah, and that's the argument for him, isn't it? The speed's there, but he gets let down by things he can't control. But we do have to dig into the main issue Red Bull's grappling with. Consistency. Especially consistent race pace over a whole Grand Prix distance.
Right. Give us the data then. What shows this weakness?
Well, okay, let's look back at, say, Belgium. Qualifying. Pretty decent. His one-lap pace was close enough to Max to keep the bosses happy, you could say.
Okay.
But then you look at the race itself. He was running nearly a second a lap slower over a full race stint compared to Verstappen.
Wow, a second a lap.
Yeah, and there's a pattern. He gets closer to Max when Max himself is maybe a bit held back. The track doesn't quite suit the car. They're managing tires really carefully.
Right.
But when Verstappen is unleashed, when that Red Bull is flying, Tsunoda's often sort of at the back of that leading group.
Okay, let's hit the hard numbers then. The metrics Red Bull are really looking at. Since the summer break, Max has been, well, Max, near perfect. Tsunoda's results in that same time, 9th, 13th, 6th, 12th, 7th, 11th. And in normal dry races during that period, the closest he's finished behind Verstappen at the flag is a massive 33 seconds.
33 seconds.
That gap, that consistency gap, that's the mountain he has to climb.
And that gap just screams instability, doesn't it? Red Bull can't really afford a main driver whose ceiling is occasionally high, but whose floor is, well, half a minute behind the winner, especially not going into a totally new rules era.
And that need for consistency is exactly why they're looking so seriously now at the other option, the high-risk, high-reward bet, ISAC HADJAR. And hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome to the deep dive, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more F1 analysis like this.
HADJAR. Yeah, Red Bull definitely sees him as the future. And he doesn't really hide his confidence, does he? He's pretty open about wanting that promotion. He's also got this reputation already for being incredibly self-critical, always analyzing his mistakes.
But doesn't this feel a bit like deja vu? Red Bull kind of prioritizing that raw speed again, maybe over temperament. We've seen this playbook before, right? Gasly, Albon. Undeniable pace, sure. But the pressure cooker of that top team, it exposed weaknesses, inconsistencies, and they were demoted pretty quickly. Why do Red Bull think HADJAR is different? What breaks that mold?
That's a fair point, a really valid question. I think what they see in HADJAR, what perhaps sets him apart, is his adaptability. The sheer speed he shows straight away in different cars, different situations. And remember, he's only really had 1 year at this top junior level.
True.
You got that first F1 podium at the Dutch Grand Prix. Red Bull seems to believe he learns faster than the others they've promoted.
Yeah.
And that's crucial for 2026. They seem willing to kind of overlook the inevitable rookie mistakes.
Which we have seen.
Oh, yeah, the opening lap tangle in Mexico, that heavy qualifying crash in Austin.
Yeah.
They see those. They acknowledge the risk. But the calculation seems to be that the raw, unpolished speed points to a higher ultimate ceiling than, say, Tsunoda's known quantity. They think HADJAR is worth the gamble, even throwing him into the top team after just 1 year.
And this connects back to 2026 again.
Directly. Because the arguments for keeping Tsunoda, having someone familiar to manage the uncertainty, those are also, weirdly, the arguments for making the change now and giving HADJAR the best shot.
How does that work? Explain that.
Well, think about it. If you put HADJAR in the main Red Bull car now for 2025, he gets a full year of F1 experience under his belt before the massive regulation change hits in 26.
Oh, okay.
The new engine, the new car concept, it sort of levels the playing field. It might actually be easier for a really adaptable, high-potential talent like HADJAR to jump into something completely new rather than trying to, teach an inconsistent driver new tricks in a totally different environment. It's like back the known quantity with its flaws, or risk it on the prospect you think has the highest ceiling going into the unknown.
Right. And if HADJAR does get that promotion, wow, the knock-on effects for Racing Bull's the junior team are huge.
Oh, it's a proper domino effect.
Yeah.
Because Red Bull has also lined up another really exciting talent for that team, Arvid Lindblad.
The F2 race winner, yeah. Very young.
Very young, 18.
Yeah.
Incredibly rapid. And apparently he seriously impressed the management with how professional he was in that FP1 session he did in Verstappen's car in Mexico.
Okay, but Lindblad is only 18. He's had some incidents in F2. He clearly needs some time to develop some seasoning. So the junior team needs someone experienced alongside him, right? A leader.
Exactly. That's the most likely setup. They'd pick one experienced driver. So either Tsunoda or Lawson gets demoted back to partner Lindblad. They need that mentor figure, someone to guide him, help with technical feedback, bring the kid along smoothly.
The idea of Tsunoda and Lawson together again, it's possible they were teammates briefly at the end of 24, but didn't they have a pretty frosty relationship? What was that all about?
Yeah, frosty is a good word. Look, it mostly came down to some high-pressure moments on track, fighting hard for points, and maybe some perceived team favoritism and strategy calls. There was one incident in particular that seemed to boil over, led to some sharp comments publicly. You could see the tension in the garage, putting them back together.
Yeah.
Well, it carries an unnecessary risk of that friction resurfacing, especially when the main goal for Racing Bulls would be nurturing Lindblad in a stable environment.
So ultimately, it sounds like both Tsunoda and Lawson, while they've had their moments, they've both had a shot at the senior team before, and, as the thinking goes, failed to convince management they could consistently deliver at that absolute top level. Maybe Racing Bulls is their ceiling now?
It feels like they're now competing for that senior stabilizer role in the junior team rather than the big Red Bull seat itself. HADJAR and Lindblad, they're clearly seen now as the much more serious future prospects. It's almost less about who stays F1 and more about how Red Bull reshuffles the deck to make space for this next wave.
So, stepping back, what does this whole kind of messy decision process tell us about where Red Bull's driver management philosophy is right now?
I think it tells us they are absolutely desperate to find some stability in that pipeline after years of churn. This decision, it isn't just about who's quickest over one lap right now. It's about who offers the best bet for long-term consistency and adaptability, both for next year and when that 2026 regulatory bomb drops.
And for Yuki Tsunoda specifically, what does he need to show in these last few races? Is there a concrete target, a metric that might just keep that door open for him?
He needs to turn those flashes of speed into something sustainable. Consistent points finishes are key, obviously. But crucially, he needs to close that race gap to Verstappen. If he could somehow get that deficit down, consistently finish within, say, half a minute of max in normal conditions.
Bring that 33 seconds down under 30.
Exactly. Something like that. That would be tangible, measurable progress. That might be the kind of evidence of maturity Red Bull could possibly accept.
Okay, so this leaves a really big question hanging in the air, one for you, the listener, to think about as we head towards these final races and that decision deadline. Does Red Bull go for the long-term, high-caliber potential of ISAC HADJAR, accepting the risk, the inherent risk of throwing a junior into such a volatile period of change? Or do they play it safer? Opt for the immediate stability that someone like Yuki Tsunoda, despite his inconsistencies, represents, a known quantity as they head into that massive 2026 reset.
It's a fascinating dilemma, isn't it? And the answer could really define their success for the next 5 years or more.
It really could. We will absolutely be tracking every rumor, every lap time, every comment, right up until that crucial Abu Dhabi deadline. So make sure you don't miss any of our analysis. Please subscribe and follow The Deep Dive wherever you get your podcasts or find your deep dives. We'll talk to you next time.